Alright, so this is a video that talks about Japan because, as you guys know, it's one of the countries that I really and truly love. I think it's... and when I say, Japan, I'm talking modern day Japan. I'm talking Japan from like 19... Let's go with the year I was born, 1978. From 1978 up until now, that's the Japan that I'm talking about. And everything about the country from that point on up till now, I love. There's certain things I don't like. Excuse me. Like, I don't like the whole whaling and things like that they do. I have an issue with that. Other than that, cost of living is a concern. But that's basically it. I mean, there's not a lot of things that I don't like. I mean, it's got... The architecture is amazing. I said this in our Patreon. I'm not going to mention our detailed plans here because that's something that's going to be on Patreon. It's for those folks, but it's pretty solid. I mean, I put it to you this way: Noelle and I are learning Japanese, and so she actually found this this app where she started using it, and I'm like, well, let me in on it. And so I started it as well, and actually I'm doing pretty darn good. I'm surprised. I'm like, what? So I need to definitely continue to keep doing this and doing this and doing this, obviously. I took Japanese in college, and it was a failure. I mean, it was bad. I think if I had a different mindset at the time, I would have did better. But my mindset really wasn't on that, to be honest with you. That class was a D. I'm being honest, it was a D. I barely escaped from it being an F, but still a D is just bad. But now it's a completely different thing. And I think, as time goes on, I will probably, complete this app, probably start all over again. And if I become very good with that, then I will take a class at the community college. It's the cheapest, if they offer it. It's going to be the cheapest option, I believe. Now, excuse me, there are people here, they're Japanese. Actually, in fact, I know of a person who's Japanese, and she moved with her husband not long ago. She's from this area. I mean, she's originally from Japan. But she moved, and she taught Japanese to people. And so she still does. But she knows people here that also teach it. So, there's a possibility there that I could also look into having someone to teach me on a personal level. But we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But learning Japanese has been really interesting for me. Because I remember absolutely nothing from when I took it back in college. Now, Noelle, I think, is going to do very well with this. Because with me, if I say a phrase that the system told me, then she knows the answer. So it's already sinking in for her. She knows a few words now that just stuck. Me, it's like I can start to read it better. Isn't that crazy? You would think when I was younger I could pick it up better, but now I'm able to start to read it a lot better. I don't know. I mean, when I do the little quizzes on there, I'm shocked that, whoa, I got it right. But yeah, I'm doing pretty good with it. So as I mentioned, I basically have been looking at, and I asked my friend about this particular location in Japan, which I think makes a lot of sense. Noelle likes that location too. And sorry, I have a cat here. So Noelle thinks it's a great place too, a great location. I mean, we don't know for certain, right? We've never been to Japan or anything like that. But I do think that probably within a year, we would probably take a trip to Japan. Now, I know you're thinking, why not Korea? If you don't know, Noelle is Korean. She was born in Korea. She was adopted when she was a year and a half to a white family here in the U.S., in Michigan at the time. And then they moved to Indiana, and she grew up there, right? So, for all intents and purposes, she's as American as I am. So she doesn't know anything really about Korea. We had planned on going to Korea because Noelle wanted to know more about where she's from. And there's a lot of people who are known as CADs, Korean adoptees, who make the journey to Korea to understand themselves better, to understand where they're from, to just be at that. I mean, obviously, anybody would want that, to be there in their birth country and to possibly find relatives, right? So different people go for different reasons. Noelle's view has changed over time in terms of wanting to go there for the reasons that she wanted to before. So we kind of vacillated back and forth of, yeah, we're going, no, we're not. Because when things look like it's ready to move, she's like, I don't really, I'm not feeling it. So I don't want to pressure her. And then at the same time, we didn't want to make a trip to, Hong Kong or Japan or Singapore or pick a place other than Korea, because if we were going to go to Asia, she said she wanted to go to Korea first, South Korea first. And I understood that. That made perfect sense. So I didn't book any sort of, even though I wanted to go to many different places in Asia, I didn't choose any Asian countries to visit because I wanted to make sure that South Korea was where we went to and that she was ready for that. So in the meantime, I took a trip to Haiti and did some work there and all that, and I'm planning to go back again soon. But I left Asia off the radar. The entire continent. Left it off the radar, right? Because it doesn't matter to me. I can go anywhere there and find it interesting. If you don't know, back in the day, before I chose my degree, I wanted to be an anthropologist. So I wanted to go a lot of places. South America, African countries, parts of Southern Europe, Asian countries especially. So I really and truly wanted to go all over the place. Well, since I changed my degree, obviously, back in the day, it still stuck with me that there are places I wanted to go to. And to be honest with you, South Korea was not even on the radar. I didn't even know much about South Korea. It wasn't really the focus. None of the Asian countries really were that much of a focus, but Japan had always been the focus that was on my mind. It just did. I used to watch, in my little hometown, NHK would come on, which is their national news carrier. It would come on, and I would watch it. I would watch a show called Today's Japan. And just the introduction just blew my mind. It was just, they knew exactly what they were doing, right? So it really and truly just made me want to look at that even more. So I've ignored a lot of that whenever I was growing up. The girls are out there fighting and playing. I ignored a lot of that. And really and truly, there were times when I could have actually went to Japan and I didn't. This was prior to Noelle. I could have went, didn't go. And I even studied, like I mentioned, Japanese and was horrible at it. And at that time, I had thought about going when I was in my early 20s. Didn't happen. Then I thought when I was going to go in my mid-20s, but I was married at the time. So now I am married with kids and looking at Japan yet again. And this time it's we've actually done more now, or I've done more now than I've ever done in the past. I did a video talking about Japan's looking for people to live there because a lot of their population's in decline. They have a lot of elderly people and not a lot of children. People don't have a lot of children. People are waiting longer to get married. Some people are not getting married at all. It's just expensive. And the value system there is a little bit different than Americans' values. In terms of just children and all of that type of thing. So it's just culturally different. So they're facing that issue in terms of employment. A lot of jobs are just not being filled. These are jobs that a lot of Japanese don't want. A lot of folks are looking for those high-end, big-time jobs, which is the same in places like South Korea too. They're looking for the same thing, those top jobs. And so that, along with the fact that there's less people to actually, have kids and not as many kids, they're usually having one, maybe two at the most. It just leads to a population that is just shrinking. And yet the jobs and everything else are still there and rising. So they need more people. And with that, a lot of people are leaving the rural countryside. People that are my age decided, you know what, hey, I was raised here in this rural valley. I don't want to live here any longer. I'm going to move to the city. So they go to Yokohama, they go to Kobe, they go to Tokyo, they go to these different places because of the simple fact there's a lot of stuff to do. It's kind of fun, right? And they can chase after their dream. Well, it leaves these little rural countryside towns and villages just kind of abandoned. There's a lot of abandoned houses, and I did a video talking about that. Well, now the government is giving those away. A lot of the people can't tear down the houses because vacant land has a higher tax rate than if you just left the house. So they leave the houses, some of which are just not good to live in anyway any longer. I mean, they're kind of... But some of them are pretty nice. And so I found a website that actually showed some decent houses. So we're looking probably within a year of actually visiting Japan. Now that's if Noelle and I stick with learning Japanese, right? Because you need to know some Japanese to go to Japan anyhow, right? But it depends. If we stick with this and we really and truly, and so far we have been, she's been much more on it than what I thought she would be, and she's been learning it quite a bit, but we would probably take a trip out there possibly in 2020. I'm looking forward to it, to be honest with you. I told her that as long as certain things line up, that's definitely something I would like to do. I've always wanted to go there. And I told her that if you, at that point, you wanted to go to South Korea, we could do that too while we're out that way. The great thing about living here is that there are direct flights to Japan every single day. And that is great when you're traveling with young kids. At that point in time, Zeta will be about 5 years old. Believe it or not. Wait. So she's 2 now. She'll be 3. No, she'll be about 4. So she'll be a little bit older. We don't have to worry as much. Part of the reason why we also delayed going to Korea is because of kids. When we flew to Milwaukee, was it Milwaukee? I think we were fine there. But when we flew back home, little Zara Bean was having a fit. Her ears were killing her. So it could happen with Zeta. We figured, once they're old enough, that wouldn't be an issue. But apparently it was, and Zara was 5. So she still is. So I don't know. By that time, Zoe will be like 8 or 9, and Zara will be like 7. So 6 or 7. So it seems like that's going to be a good time to go. They'll be able to actually enjoy it a lot better. And so we're really looking at going there for a visit probably in a year or so. That is obviously if we stick with it and stick with learning the language. So far, I'm actually holding on to it and picking up quite a bit. It's a little bit shocking. But anyhow, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys are enjoying your 2019. So far, it's starting off pretty good. Not bad at all. Kind of what I expected. Hopefully, you guys are having a great 2019 as well. And until next time, I will see you. Take care.